Eastside Cultural Crawl Board. I'm also chair of their space committee. I'm an artist and a community planner. I don't work for the city, just to clarify that. And I have a live-work studio at Gore and Alexander, which is in the overall study area. Esther Rosenberg, our executive director, is here if there's questions that are probably maybe better directed to her. So I wanted to talk briefly about the Eastside Culture Crawl. Our vision is transforming community through visual arts. You can see our mission there. But I want you to just kind of focus in on two words that I think are a theme that's running through our entire presentation, coming from our vision. That's the words community and the words arts. So let's keep that in mind as we talk about this. So I wanted to put a community face on it, because Eastside Culture Crawl is all about the artists in the community, and these are some of the faces of our artists. In 2018, the Eastside Culture Crawl, we had 500 artists in 80 plus buildings. And that's not to say we just have 500 artists. Those are just the artists that were in that year. So keep in mind that there's a lot more artists than the 500 that open their studios each year. We also are part of the community in other ways. For example, we have a program that's been running for 10 years called Studio 101, where we get school children into the artist studios and work with them, get them interested in arts and involved. So we have a variety of spaces throughout the community, all kinds of nooks and crannies here and there that probably a lot of you don't even know where they are. But we have some very large spaces. We have spaces where people work, create art, and show art. And we're in a variety of buildings throughout. And it's not just sort of warehousey type spaces, although everybody's pretty familiar with 1000 Parker. We're in smaller studios, other buildings throughout the community, and a large number of houses is where the art is created in the Eastside Culture Crawl area. And I think it's evident from discussions we've held with everybody and going through the crawl. I opened my studio, I think I've opened for 8 years, that we are part of the neighborhood character. We are part of what's vibrant, what makes Strathcona such an interesting place where people want to live. And this whole session this afternoon is talking about livability, and I think we're a large part that contributes to that. So this is the study area for the Flats Arterial roadway. And I just wanted to put our Eastside Culture Crawl boundary on, just to show you that why we're so interested in this and why we're presenting here and bringing our views. Previous census data across Canada said of all the major cities that Vancouver has the highest density per capita of artists in Canada. And I think it's probably safe to say that this area has the highest density of artists in Vancouver. Over the last 10 years, we've had studios open in our Eastside Culture Crawl in over 240 different buildings in the community. And that's just the artists that have opened for the crawl. So you can imagine there's lots of other buildings where the artists are creating and contributing. And this is from the city's Falls Creek Flats area profile. 19% of businesses in the Flats identify themselves as part of an arts and culture cluster. So it's not just artists doing their own thing. They're part of this community from an economic standpoint as well. I just love this slide. This is what we call the traveling salesman route, where one of our brilliant people has created a map showing the shortest distance to get to all the crawl spots in 2018. But the message I want to get from here is the fact that this is an interconnected community. And it's not just about the artist studios and going to them. It's about the artists going home, the artists coming to Ernest's Ice Cream, the artists coming here. We have several artists on this panel. It's about them going to the businesses, the printers, etc. So it is really an interconnected community that the artists are part of. I just wanted to talk a little bit briefly about Strathcona Park as a place for celebration, a place for art. I've seen people creating art there. Maybe it's something in the future for the Eastside Culture Crawl that we can have more kind of visual arts activities there. And just pointed out in going through the history that the artists played a pretty important role in establishing the community gardens there in the first place in the 80s. As an artist, I always like to think about public art and just recognizing as we go through this process that there is some pretty interesting, provocative public art within the area. I could go on forever about this whole notion about artist studios under threat. They're threatened by the same way that affordable housing is under threat, but now with some of the speculation tax and so on, a lot of that money is going into redevelopment in commercial areas, so there's kind of a double whammy happening to artists. So what I want to really leave you with, we are part of this community, and I see our interests kind of aligning with that of the community. We haven't formally adopted a policy, but you can, I think, fairly easily see where we're headed when we talk about a complete community, a whole community, and the interconnections. So I wanted to leave you with these 5 principles from our perspective. 1, it's an integrated community. It has an art character, and the community needs to be considered as a whole, not a fragmented place that's cut up. Artist studios are under threat in the city and must be protected. So we really need to address the buildings that are going to be impacted one way or the other. We need a sensitive perspective about the existing public art and hopefully incorporating amenity and public art through any future construction work, design, etc. And the Strathcona Park is a place for performance and celebration. So those are our key messages that we want you to keep in mind as a community panel that's evaluating these options. So I'm prepared, I guess, now to take some questions, and a reminder that Esther Rosenberg from our executive director is here. And she might have to help me on some historical questions, what happened.